Rocking Chair Session. With Elisa Di Battista and Maria Teresa Barber. Hello everyone!
And welcome to RCS Rocking Chair Sessions for Volume 17 with our special guest, Bernadette Despujols. Thank you for coming, Bernadette.
Did you say that right?
Yes.
Oh wow, Despujols, very cool. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
All the way down from your upstairs studio.
Yes.
What's your studio number again?
U11.
U11. Bernadette has like the biggest, most fanciest, most prestigious, awesomest studio here at the Bakehouse. She has a door that opens to the roof.
Your like French doors almost.
And
really
she has
large.
like this huge space and a little kitchen inside. And
Natural
it's like,
light.
yeah.
Yeah, it's quite
So definitely
incredible.
come and visit Bernadette here at the Bakehouse. She's really awesome. And I also want to say that Rocking Chair Sessions moved actually.
This is our first session on the first floor. So Bernadette is breaking ground on
And
Maria Teresa's new studio.
we don't know our neighbors yet,
We do not know them.
like so well.
That well,
So
but,
we
yeah.
told them to be quiet, but there
Nicely,
could be
nicely.
noise. There could be noise. And we also have a new AC, so we don't know how that's gonna happen, but we're gonna work it out.
We're gonna work it out and find out.
All right. Okay, our very first question for Bernadette.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, well, I'm really curious because we've spoken before in passing in terms of your background as an architect. I mean, you're an artist, fine artist now, but did you decide to go down the route of becoming an architect because you didn't want to do fine arts, or it was just something else you were interested in when you were like growing up?
Yeah, I was always into art since I was a kid. And I graduated from high school and I just went to architecture. I guess it's like half of it a family thing and then half of it is, you can meet art within architecture. So it was a good space while I was going to university that I could explore both. Like I never stopped doing art. And then after I finished my bachelor, I went to CalArts to California and I actually got my MFA and said, I'm gonna do the art thing.
So when you say the family thing, could you expand upon that a little bit?
But yeah, my family, my mom and my dad are civil engineers and my dad had a real estate development firm in Venezuela and my sister is an architect too. So that kind of goes into the family, the building and architecture.
And making things.
And making things, yeah.
And it's a twin sister, right? Is that true?
No, she's a year and a half older than me.
She's a year and a half older than
Is it
you.
called Irish twins, like when you're really close in age?
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah, we're really close.
You're close, and you do a lot of things together, like the also architecture projects.
Yes, we work in we do all of our work. We work together.
Mm-hmm.
We do way too many things together, probably. Yeah. She's my best friend.
Oh, that's
Oh,
awesome.
that's wonderful. Yeah, I saw some of your pictures on Instagram, and you look just great.
Yeah.
And I think you have the name the Evil Twins. That's why I came up with this idea that she's your twin sister.
Yeah, I thought about it, because like we're always together and doing stuff together. Like at some points you're like doing something by yourself, and it's like, oh, where's your sister? And I'm like, well, sometimes we're not together. Always.
Yeah. Did you go to CalArts too?
No.
No, that was your own thing.
Yeah.
How was that? Because I mean, I went to school in California as well. I got my MFA in San Francisco, San Francisco Art Institute, and of course, I heard a lot very good things about CalArts. How was
Valencia, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like from Los Angeles. It's like an hour, or
Yes, it's like an hour. Like exactly like an hour, 10 minutes driving from LA. It's a long drive. But the campus is really nice because, it's like around nature.
Cool.
And the drive to go there, it's also really pretty. And the school was amazing. It's like you get to be really close to your faculty. Like they're always there for you. So you get to have like these amazing conversations. I would think like I would love to have done my master's, like not when I was so young, but like maybe after, because I think there is so much you can gain when like you already have like your idea of a project, like, and just like be able to get into this community and develop your projects. But it was amazing. It's like a really open school. Like you can go there and like do some film experimenting, do some painting. You know, you can go into the dance part of it, and that's what's great about it. Like all the departments are really united, so you can pretty much like build your own diploma around it. And yeah, the faculty was really good. And
When did you graduate from there?
2012.
Oh, that's already 5 years ago.
I know.
So you were like fresh out, or you just got your bachelor's and you went right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like the master's, it's like, I mean, if I think back on my master's, and I was already 30 when I went to art school, and I also think like, oh man, I wish I could go now, you know, and do my master's now with all the knowledge that I have now.
Yeah.
And it's not that I was missing the life experience, but I was just missing like the knowledge that I have about the art world now, or kind of like that I have a couple of more years, you know, of my art practice. But then I also love the time that I had there. So it's kind of like always, you kind of always wish to have gotten more out of it, or
of course, But then I learned so much there. Like, I took as many classes as I could. No, it was an amazing experience. I love like the people that I met there.
Yeah. Was there like a teacher that most inspired you from CalArts?
Yeah, Betsy Bromberg.
Betsy, I don't know.
She does video. She was amazing. And then James Benning, he does video installations too. And his videos are just amazing because he puts like a camera on a side, on like a landscape, and just the video can go over for when he did film, it would go over for like 2 minutes each shot because it was on a Bolex. But when he started doing like video, it would go over for like an hour. So you could see it as just like a live painting or a live photograph. It was just like really appreciating and staring at a landscape. And yeah, I love James Benning. John Mandel also, he's a painter. I took a lot of painting classes with him.
And we have one piece, is that a piece that you did at CalArts that we have exhibited here at the Bakehouse? The older piece? The one with the figure that has like this...
Yeah, I did that one when I was like, at CalArts. Yeah, it was like
Did you do that one there?
Yeah,
it
was cool. Like, you know, learning how to paint and like doing like techniques and the shadows and doing like the back painting and all that.
Yeah, really. And you have another piece exhibited with the figures, like 4 human figures in like bathing suits.
Oh yeah, the dance.
The dance.
Yeah, that one is like a reinterpretation of the dance by Matisse, which is like this naked women dancing. I thought I just wanted to do like this naked men dancing. I just feel like a few of these paintings with muses kind of make the women look like dumb. I mean,
definitely objectified.
Yeah. So I feel like, what would it be like doing the same, just like with a male character? But then they didn't become like cute males. They're just like strange, bold. Like they just
they're
like
also like older and kind of like, I don't know if they're sex offenders or like they're
like
licking with their tongue. They're licking the lips and are like, they're creeps kind of, right?
They look like politics or weirdos. And
politicians, yeah.
But they just like ended up looking like that. I didn't have like this idea. I just wanted them to be male, and then they look really weird.
Yeah, I like it a lot. That painting is in the atrium of the Bakehouse at the moment. If you guys want to come by and take a look at it.
And then the third piece.
Oh my God! Yeah, we have 3 pieces.
It's a trifecta. There's a third piece, an installation on the installation section of the atrium.
Yeah, the stage.
Which is the tongue slide.
Yeah, the tongue slide. Yeah.
And I really love, it's very tongue-in-cheek, haha, I love that piece. But it goes to show how multidisciplinary you are, how you describe CalArts as an experience, and you got to experiment with painting or dance or movement, all these different things. More or less, I see that in your artwork, that you don't stick to one thing versus it's you conceptually, but you tend to experiment with different media.
Like painting and sculpture mainly at the moment, right?
How do you pick one from the other, like when you start your making process?
I think that's one of my hardest challenge, to like stick to something I can't. I love painting. I've always loved, to paint sometimes, but I get this like ideas of sculptures and I'm like, no, I want to do a sculpture too. I'm not gonna. And yeah, I guess I think about something that I want to make and I just make it, but maybe it would be good to like stick to something. I thought it would be good to stick to something, and then I said, whatever, I'm gonna do what I want.
Yeah. I feel like that's liberating to me, that you can switch around in media. And I feel like also there is like some ideas that are better expressed through a painting and some ideas that are better expressed through a sculpture, and then vice versa. It's more like I like the fluidity of like the mixed media artists.
You do this as well. I wonder how the whole West Coast, East Coast thing. I've always ended up on the East Coast myself. I've never really been out west except like as a layover from San Fran to like Hawaii. But what brought you to Miami?
How fancy.
Oh, how fancy. What brought you to Miami, Bernadette? Like, why here?
Because of my family. My mom moved here, and then my sister moved here. And my dad comes and goes, so after I finished with California, this seemed like the right place to go because my whole family moved here. And it's also like closer to Venezuela. LA is kind of far. LA was awesome though. I loved LA.
So you moved to Miami, what did you say?
She graduated
2012. Yeah.
12?
Uh-huh.
So you've been here 5 years?
Yeah.
How's Miami? How are those 5 years for you? Because you did make a couple of pieces about Miami, especially I like the text that you wrote, for the specific pieces, where Miami is not always like this friendly character, right? It's more like also where you see it critically.
Yes, to me Miami I think was really hard to get to. Like now I like Miami and I feel it's like my home, even though sometimes I hate Miami. When I go out of it and I think about moving, then I come back and I'm like, no, like Miami is just home to me now. But it grew on me. Like I think for the first 2 years, I really, really didn't like it. I felt really lonely here for some reason. It was just hard to like get in touch to people or like feel like a sense of community. I felt it was superficial too, and then like I started meeting new people and really getting into it, and I'm like, okay, there's also other things going on in here.
And especially I feel like coming, because I also moved here from California, it's such a culture shock, right? In California it's like, all right, in San Francisco Bay Area, it was like people usually kind of take care of each other, they drive like really, they take care of each other, and here it's really rough. Like I had also the first 2 years, it's a rough change. But then you get to a different layer of Miami, right? And you discover more like the preciousness of it.
No, Miami has a lot of like good things. Well, for once you're like in the water and it's amazing, like to go swimming. And I went to the beach a lot in California, but I never really went to the ocean because it was so cold.
It's freezing.
And every time I would get closer, I'm like, oh my god, this water is freezing.
Yeah.
And then here in Miami, you can just like swim all the time, so that's
amazing. It's like
amazing.
a bathtub at the moment. Yeah.
Perfect temperature.
It's super clean too. Like the air, it's clean, and the weather, it's really good too.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are like things that are different. Like when you move from California, you're like used to like everybody's thinking about the environment. I think that was like a big shock for me. Like you go to a store, there's not like a million bags. They're like everybody's like conscious about it.
Yeah.
You recycle, you do all these things, and then here in Miami, I don't know why we're like.
No one gives a shit.
No one cares.
Yeah.
It's like you go to CVS, you tell them like I don't need all these bags, and just the lady's like I didn't get the memo that we're like not trying to contaminate or something. So that was like, there's like a cultural shock for that. But I think it's changing, I hope.
Yeah. then let's go back a little bit in time. So you were born in Venezuela, right?
Yes.
And where in Venezuela?
In Barquisimeto.
Okay, where is that?
It's like 4 hours away from Caracas. It's a town.
Like north or south?
Like west.
West. Wow,
Yeah.
my Venezuela map is really like blank at the moment, but okay. And is it a big town or?
Yeah, I think it's a big town.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a big town. Like it's one of the cities.
One of the cities in Venezuela.
Yeah.
One of the big cities.
Yeah.
And you lived there all your life, or you moved around in Venezuela?
No, I lived there through my high school.
Mm-hmm.
And then right when I finished high school, I moved to Caracas to go to La Central to study architecture there.
And well, we talked a little bit about it before, about this whole situation in Venezuela right now. I know that you have exhibitions coming up there, but can you describe a little bit how it feels for you to be, watching this whole political situation from afar, kind of?
Yeah, it's really horrible. It's a horrible thing. I feel. I mean, when I first moved to US, I really didn't want to move. My dream was to stay in Venezuela and like be an architect there. And I had this dream of a country that I felt was like being born and like I was going to be part of it, of like the new country that we were going to build. And I loved my university. I was teaching there.
You were teaching at the university?
Yeah. Right after I graduated, I started teaching design, and I was just so in love with my country. So when I left, it was like a big heartbreak, and it was really, really hard for me. But I just couldn't. I didn't feel secure anymore, and I guess I respect a lot of the people that are fighting now there because they're like giving their life for it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And so I really respect that. So yeah, it's really sad. Like you wake up every morning and you see these images.
Yeah.
And there's just like these kids that are dying.
And the lack of food. I mean, the fact that you're an artist gives you a power and gives you a voice to communicate whatever it is you want to communicate. And people that would have potentially not taken you seriously, and they don't take these kids seriously, they don't take these mothers that are starving seriously, you might have the platform to somehow communicate what has to be communicated, even though it's a little grain. It's a voice that will be heard because of who you are, your background that validates you, the education that you have, that makes you prove like this, there has to be change that has to happen.
Yeah, I guess I feel, lately my later pieces I'm trying to like work on the political situation. But yeah, it's really frustrating. I really don't know, how much, can I help? It's just really, really sad.
How was the Venezuela of your childhood? How was it when you were
Growing up.
When you were growing up, when you were in the university, like?
It was amazing. I mean, of course there were, problems, and I guess that is why Chavez won in the first place, because there was a big part of the population was really poor, and nobody was talking about it, and they didn't have, basically the same rights. It was a really class-divided country. It just was like submerged, like nobody was saying it out loud, and then Chavez came and just said it out loud. But
And that's how he won.
Yeah, no, he won like fair and square, like 70% of the population, because he basically was the only one, saying this thing. So, I guess that's what happened when you let more than half of the country become poor, and it's really not good. But I grew up in a beautiful Venezuela that was like not dangerous. I remember just playing in the streets, getting rides, and going to the beach, camping in beaches where like nobody would camp today because they're just so dangerous. And my university was like the best years of my life. It was just an amazing school. I met amazing people, and I had the best time. And I guess I loved it so much when I saw that everything was changing and that it was just turning so violent, and the politics of it were just, so violent too. I couldn't take it. But no, I grew up in an amazing country. Venezuela is a beautiful, beautiful place. The nature of it is great, and there is a lot of great people there too.
Here, even in the bakehouse, and especially in Miami, there are so many people from Venezuela now also.
Yeah.
How does that feel for you? Like, is it like a support for you that there are a lot of other people here that are from your country, or is it?
Oh, I don't know. It's just so weird. It's just so weird because, like, here in Miami, you see the two ends of it. You see the people that are like really suffering and they made it here, and then you see this other people that just made millions out of this thing, and they're just buying mansions here. Like, all the politics also come here to Miami, so it's like this one place where like we all, like, the goods and bad come, and
it's just mirroring kind of like what also
I don't know.
With Venezuela in a way.
It's just really, it's really strange. You get here and then you see these like Venezuelans that there are like the bad ones that made all this dirty money, and you see them like spending it here, and you're like, oh fuck, like why did I come to the same place that they come? Like, I should have moved to a place where they wouldn't go.
Another city for those, right? They should go to Boston or something.
Yeah, I know, but it's also good to be able to speak Spanish with everybody and just feel here you don't feel really like an immigrant at all. You never get that. I got that feeling in LA sometimes, like I was like an immigrant. I never get that here. So
do you feel like that too? I mean, you came here so much younger.
I got here when I was 3, and I feel that growing up here in Miami as opposed to growing up in a Western or even Midwestern state was quite the blessing, because I grew up with others that were bilingual, such as myself, and I was in school learning English, and so it was never like, you who are from a different country and you're so different from us. It was more like, oh, you're an immigrant like most Americans, and you're learning to speak the language, and I just always felt at home in Miami, even though it was a far away from where I was born, which was Panama. So it wasn't strange growing up here. It was quite, I adapted, I acclimated. It was just like throwing me in a pool and I swam. It felt very normal. Yeah. The culture shock you experienced in LA when you moved to Miami, Bernadette, you mentioned that it felt a little bit cold. Do you feel that it's because when you're in grad school and you're being more or less, I don't want to say molded, but you're in this community of artists, you're with like-minded spirits, you have like professors, friends, people that you could have a conversation with about your artwork, and then you come here away from that, and then you no longer have that. Did you do any other residencies when you first started? No, besides the bakehouse, or?
I did a short residency on the Art Center South Florida.
Okay.
And that was good. But I was going back and forward still, to CalArts because I was on my thesis and I started it.
Oh, okay. So you hadn't completed. Okay.
Yeah. So that was good. That was fun. But yeah, definitely in CalArts, I had a bigger, the whole campus and
Yes.
all my friends, and like I was already within the art community.
Exactly.
And then here I was like trying to get into it.
Afloat. Yeah.
And it's also what I feel really a withdrawal syndrome from grad school is also you have all those tools, right? And I was talking with Elisa, who needs a metal shop right now and that she doesn't have, I had just got a printer for digital photographs I didn't have for like 3 years now. I graduated in 2014, and in grad school you just have all of that. And similar to what your experience at CalArts was also like at SFEI, you can use all the departments, you can use all the tools, you have everything,
Send emails, ask permission.
And then afterwards you have to build yourself, a community where you can feel like you could get a critique, or you could get even support or like help with whatever you want to do, and then all those tools also, so I feel that's also like a big shift. And even if you don't change the town,
Yeah.
then if you change the city on top of that, it's also all your social relationships.
Yeah.
And you did it too, Elisa. You left New York, right?
Yeah, it was quite hard for me.
Oh my God, New York.
Yeah.
let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
It's not my session. It's
Elisa's starting to cry now about her New York experience.
Yeah, it was hard. That's why I know about the culture shock. I mean, obviously I'm from Miami. I consider myself a Miami, and I got here when I was 3, but it's quite different losing what you have over there. But like you said, you get a hold of it. It's kind of hard at first, and then you start to build a community here in Miami in your circles. I'm curious to know, I guess going into the pieces that you have, like what pieces did you make post CalArts, like here in Miami? Like what are your Miami pieces that kind of sort of, you're like, I'm ready to start making again. I'm gonna dig deep. What did you start? What was your first project?
My first project was of sculptures, actually, when I first got here. And it was a set of sculptures that were called The Impossible Journey. And that journey was like going back home, and it was impossible because, I couldn't, because the country that I grew up didn't exist anymore. So I did these sculptures with a roar,
yeah.
And a lifesaver and a Boda bag, and I used concrete. Like I filled up a lifesaver with concrete, so it would be. Now it doesn't work anymore as a lifesaver. In fact, if you use it, you're gonna sink. And the Boda bag, which is like to carry water, I put concrete on it. So it was basically like reusing these objects that are meant for travel, and just making them no longer capable to be used for traveling.
And was there also a sickle? Is that what you say?
Yeah, I put the sickle on the war. That was like the communist sign. So that was my first Miami project.
It's quite intense.
And then I went on to painting and doing other things.
Was that the first time you used concrete in your work?
Yes, to fill out that lifesaver.
Yeah.
That was my first time.
Yeah, because the concrete is now reoccurring also in the sex dolls, right?
Yes.
That you fill with concrete.
Yes.
And then, did you do any other? Those are the two projects that you did with concrete, right? And the filling of.
Yes,
plastic.
the roar also have a base made out of a plastic bag in concrete, and then I moved to the sex love dolls. I think like when you develop a piece, like you think about the concept, and then there also comes like the materiality of the piece. Like I thought about this journey, and I thought about the lifesaver, and I thought about the concrete, and then I just wanted to fill up everything with concrete, so I started exploring these other things, and I found, I walked on these sex shops. I moved to Miami Beach at the time, and I was just, when you drive through Washington, you see like this Madonna club, these sex shops, and you're like, what is this town? Like, who are these people? Like, their life, they're just like around sex, like sex is like their job. And I went and I saw these dolls, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like the perfect cast. I need to like fill this with concrete. And I started doing those dolls, and it was really messy.
And they're so evocative also, because what happens is, so you don't have the head, you have only the torso, and the vagina is kind of opening up in the way because you fill it with concrete, right? And then the boobs are kind of like really like in those different shapes. But there is something, there's something really evocative about them when you see them. That's, I don't know if it's also like this feeling of the heaviness of it, and this opening, or if it is about kind of like also the abuse of the female body in a way, or also this objectifying that we talked about it before. Like they definitely like hit me in an emotional level as well, because you said tongue-in-cheek, with Bernadette's work. I mean, at first it's kind of like hilarious, just that you do that, you put concrete in a sex doll. But there is a deeper level to it for me, that has like also like a serious tone to it, And I feel like Miami lends itself very well to this whole discussion because it's so sexualized.
Yes.
It's so sexualized. And the female body is so sexualized. Like at the beginning when I first moved here and I was biking, that there was not a single day where I was not whistled at, or catcalled, or howled, or hissed, or called mommy or whatever, you know, it's like it's not possible. And so I feel like that's something that I see in the dolls as well, like this experience about Miami.
Yeah. In fact, when I showed the doll I went to Basel in Switzerland, and it was one doll that was in display, and then this girl comes and she really likes it, and she sees the name, and then like the gallerist introduced me to it. She's like, I really thought that it was a male who would do this, and I was kind of offended by it, because I saw it and like, you know, if a man did this, I hate it if a man does it. But now that you did it, now I wanna like hear the story. And then she heard the story, and I'm like, okay, now I love it.
Yeah, it really changes the piece. I mean, I feel like a lot about this, you know, talking about the objectification of the female body, like as a female artist versus a male artist, it just changes the piece. It's like,
let's change a viewpoint. Also, it's like you have more ownership, I think, as a woman over the female body. And so, I mean, what is a sex doll other than, like you said, it's a concrete filled thing with, you know, an entry point, and you more or less just like, this is what it is. This is what you're essentially getting. It's like soulless. It's just a bag. It's just, you know, you made it into like a mass, which I think shows the weight of it.
Yeah. I also wanted to talk about a newer piece that you have in your studio, or you had in your studio, that is like this home trainer. Do you call it home trainer? The bike, the stationary bike?
Yeah, the stationary bike.
Can you talk a little bit about that one?
Yeah, so that was a Miami piece, and it's part of this series that I only have one piece and 2 poems, but I should have more.
The poems are really good.
I'm working on it, and it was a workout in Miami, so I was trying to work out the Miami thing. So I got this bike on Craigslist, and I put it in the water in front of my parents' house. They live in Key Biscayne, so I just put it there in the water and tied it with a hoe, with a cord. And I waited 2 years, and then I took it out recently, and it was full of shells. I would think it had more shells, but it doesn't have as many.
It had a very particular smell, for sure.
Yeah, I brought it, and like I met my neighbors because they came and they were like, "What is that horrible smell?"
Upstairs, all the neighbors came, and like, Bernadette just moved in, and now everything smells like fish, you know.
I'm like, I'm sorry.
What a great way to make an entrance.
But you know, then I put some acrylic on it, and it stopped smelling so much like fish. Now it just smells a little bit. And I wrote some poems also for the piece of working out Miami. But it had to do with this, you know, the Miami thing and the women thing also has a lot to do with like being trained and being toned, and like the workout thing here is like, it's like really, really present.
Yeah. Especially on the beach, I feel, right? Because there is like also a big part of the community that eats really badly, and that is also very overweight, especially also women, right? When you compare it to like Austrian standards, you know, where everyone is like fit and hikes all the time, and I'm like, when I go back there now after being in Miami for 2.5 years, I feel like, oh my God, I'm turned into this fat American, you know, because it's just like, I don't know, the food that you eat here, I don't know if it's probably, maybe it's hot and you don't move as much, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But there on the beach especially, I feel like there's a huge like this culture of like working out and you know, having a body that is like firm and like trained and
bathing suits and rollerblading.
So that was part of that.
Yeah. And then now you're working on a series for an exhibition that you're going to do in Venezuela.
Yeah, so coming up in Venezuela, I have an exhibition in Caracas. It was moved to October because of reasons. And then I have another in Maxul, in the museum in Maracaibo, Zulia, in December. I'm working on different pieces for those 2 shows.
Can you talk a little bit about the series?
Or is it top secret?
I have like ideas, and I haven't like figured out yet what is it, you know, what is it going to be. So I'm working out on like some paintings on the on the myth of on some Greek myth. I love Greek mythology, and I'm really into Tiresias, who was a male, and then he saw two snakes coping, and he, stumbled upon them, so he became a female. And then he was a female for 7 years, and then he saw two snakes again coping, and he was like, okay, I'll disturb you again because I want to be a man. I want to change sex again. And then he went back to being a man. So whenever like the gods have like some dispute, like when Hera fight with Zeus because he was cheating on her on the time, and then he told her like, I cheat on you because women have more pleasure when they have sex and men don't have as much pleasure, so I need to cheat on you. And she was like, that's not true. And then they're like, well, we have to call Tiresias and ask him because he's the only one who would know. And then he said that yes, that women have 9 times more pleasure than men. So
he was able to answer that question.
Yeah.
I took fully prove. I knew what I'm talking about.
So yeah, that story is fascinating. So I'm doing this series on this character who is male and women.
And I saw like one painting that you're working on where there is this figure with male and female.
Which was Tiresias at some point, because I don't know, like, how did he change? How did he see his body change? So I would imagine at some point he would have breasts and a penis.
And then transition basically out of it.
And then I don't know how long the transition would take.
I did not know this story. I had 5 years of Latin, but I don't know that story.
It's a fun story.
It's a Greek story. Greek, yeah. All right. Well, you have a question?
Yes, I have a question.
I'm talking too much today.
No,
right?
it's
I'm
great.
sorry.
I love it. We take turns. The image that we used for your sneak peek for today's interview, could you tell us a little bit about how that piece came about? It's like it's a really beautiful chair, and then it has these extensions of like, I'm not sure if they're human hair, horse hair, or they're like acrylic, whatever it is, hanging from them, like almost like the chair is a person, like an individual. Could you talk a little bit about how that piece came about? That
piece is called Sad Chair, and it's part of this series called I See Myself Everywhere, and I think it's kind of a self-portrait sculpture chair. So I grabbed this chair and I wrapped it with with a flesh tone leather, like really soft sheep leather, and then I put the synthetic hair, which was really long. And I chose a chair because I think it's like a really passive piece of furniture that you can like move around. It's maybe not so important but useful, but you have many of them or little of them, and I felt somehow by times like represented by this piece of furniture that was moved around and not so important. So yeah. And then in that series I also have another one called The Root of My Desire, which is I grabbed these bamboo roots and put them together and then did a cast in bronze. And then also put some hair and nail polish into it to make it pretty. I thought on the chair, and I thought like these concepts of prettiness, like the hair and the flesh, and like maybe they represent beauty, but then when you dismantle them and like put them in different, then it can be ugly too. Like the chair, you don't know if it's pretty or if it's just kind of ugly.
I like that. Like you said, it's not an item that you would necessarily fear. It's an item that you recognize, and like you say, it's easily manipulated. But then like you took it on with your own personality. You said like you dressed it. I think the flesh portion is the part that I would want to see in person. Do you still have this chair?
Yeah.
Is it on exhibit? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the idea of skin. And I'm thinking skin, and then your figures that you paint are kind of sort of very fleshy, and then your sculpture with the tongue. So there's a lot of influence of the body and representations, multiple representations of the body. So I'm curious to see how these pieces you come up with the Greek project, that'll have bodily kind of sort of inspirations as well. Yeah, for me.
Yeah, very like they're part sensual, but they're also how do you call this?
Visceral. I don't know.
Visceral.
Yeah.
That's what they're very visceral, and they're kind of always talking in some way or referencing the body or body parts, and in a more sensual way, like either like talk about sexuality or about almost like bodily fluids, or like even the tongue, you know, you imagine like that there is like some kind of, you know, this patina on it,
or even the lack of body with like the exercise elliptical machine. Like you're still aware that a body would have to be present in order to use it. So there's still like this conversation that has to be had with that.
Yeah.
You go first.
Oh, no, okay, Elisa, go ahead.
No, you go. Okay, well, the eggplant.
Ooh, good
Right?
question. Yes, good question.
High five. There's an eggplant that's reflective.
Yeah, so the eggplant, the slide, and then there was a peach too, and the fire mirror are all these pieces from this series called Love Is No Game, and they also have a poem, and I guess they're just like you know, I think they're like about this affair thing or like love thing that went through my life and it's over now. They just stay like that. But the emoji, the eggplant comes from the emoji eggplant, and it's called Love Me Hard, and that it's what is an eggplant. Like I didn't know that emoji meant, you know, that sex thing, and when I found out I was like, whoa, this is.
I had no idea either, so you're educating me right now. I know. Did you know that?
And eggplant means that.
I had no idea.
Yeah, like
Love Me Hard, really?
I had no idea.
Yeah. Like if
Wow.
you send like a sexy photo to like a guy, then he would reply with an eggplant, and that's like,
Oh, that's
like
kind
he
of like
liked it.
he got hard.
Yeah, that's exactly what it
Oh,
means.
really? That's what my husband said when he saw it, and I was talking about no, it's the uterus of a woman. You know, that's kind of.
It's always either a vagina or a penis in there, doesn't it?
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, so it means that. Like in
I had no idea.
in this. So I guess those works are more pop than anything, but
And the peach?
well, the peach is like a butt.
Yeah, that's what I. Yeah. Okay. And then they use it also as an emoji. They use it as a butt, right?
Yeah, like girl, or you know, I think. So I heard, you know, this eggplant thing. I'm like, okay, I have to do this on a mirror and just make it big.
It's really big. It's like.
Right. At least 5 to 6 feet, I would say.
Yes.
Wide. Yeah.
It's big. Wow.
I called it Love Me Hard, and the peach is called Love Me Tender, and then the slide is called Love Is No Game, which is the series is called Love Is No Game, and then the other one is called I Am on Fire, which is the fire mirror.
The mirror.
which I think is the prettiest one of the series.
It has glitter, so I'd agree.
I was there when she put the glitter on. I loved it. Yeah.
It's like, Maria, should I put glitter on?
And I was like, yes, do the glitter. And I love it because every time you go upstairs to the upstairs studios at the bakehouse, you look into the mirror and you're kind of like, and it says, I'm on fire, you know, and I'm like, it makes you feel good. It makes me feel good.
I think it does. It's kind of like, it'll get you going in the studio like I'm on fire.
Yeah, it definitely pushes you kind of in a way. Yeah. And I really like the new video series that you're doing with the tongue, right? So you have people kind of write down the tongue, or couples even, and then you do kind of like this Instagram thing where you can push it, like, you know, you can play it forward, backward, like this boomerang thing. And you have a collection of those videos already.
Yeah, I have a little collection of video of people going down on the slide and having fun of it.
Yeah. It's really good.
I'm always curious. I was wondering, in terms of, you said you were always interested in art, and then you've always obviously the family connection towards architecture. You mentioned that you write poems. I love text, so I'm curious, did you also have an affinity growing up to like writing and literature and writing poetry, and how you've intertwined that with your fine arts?
Yeah, I always liked to write, and even when I was in school for architecture, when I did a project, I like to write a little poem of the project, you know, like sort of like go from this poem to this. Like I like a lot to think about a poem as a place to start a project.
Like more or less like a blueprint, like
yeah, like an idea comes from a poem.
And I experience really the poem also because you have them on the website and you can kind of read the poem and then see the piece, and it really gives the piece like a beautiful framework, like that you kind of like, you know, get to know a little bit more intimate details about the work. I really like that.
Yeah, versus just knowing like the dimensions or the material or the year you made it. I feel like the poems that you would create would then therefore like more or less like not just grounded, but like give you more of a like an inner
emotionality also.
Yeah, like an insider perspective of the actual artwork. We have 5 minutes. Okay, Maria's telling me we have 5 minutes left because I talk a lot. Okay, Maria, do you have a question?
No, I think you should ask your last question and then
Before
I have
go off.
my,
Okay. We know you have these 2 pieces going forward, 2 shows going forward. My question is, you're not sure exactly what it's going to be physically yet, but do you have an idea of like what material, painting, video, or sculpture that it might potentially go forward? I'm curious because I like that you are very multiple disciplinary and that you do lots of things. Do you have any idea which one of those might be?
Yeah, I definitely want to like think about a whole space that has painting and sculptures within it. So I want to like for both of them, I want to like create this space where like the sculptures and the pieces are part of this one story.
Great.
And make it like a room, and maybe design it, put some plants in it, make it like a space where you can like interact with everything. That's an idea that I have.
I like it.
And you're gonna go to Venezuela for the exhibitions, do you know?
For the Caracas one, yes, but for the Maracaibo, no, because it's right during Art Basel, and I'm also going to be showing here. So
yeah, it's hard to be in 2 places at once.
Yeah, so I think the gallerist is just going to put the show up in Maracaibo, and I'll miss it.
Where are you going to be at Art Basel? Do you know yet?
I think at Aqua.
Wonderful.
But I don't know. I think.
For sorry to regress, for the show in Maracaibo, since you won't be there, you'll do like more or less like installation shots, or like how you want them to install the pieces, or is it being curated and then they decide?
No, well, I'm working from now with my curator.
Nice.
But yeah, I guess I'll do like a floor plan and just explain how everything should go, and then he would probably make his decisions too and decide. But yeah, I need to finish that.
Busy lady, you're a busy lady. You're working really hard every day up there.
Yeah. I think it's just so hard to like finish a piece. Like, doesn't that happen to you? Like, you start a piece and you're like, when is this going to be finished? Like, every time I see it, it's like, it's just never finished.
Still not there yet. I think we've been the most consistent thing I could say career-wise, artistically, is like doing these sessions. We crank out 1 a week. I've never cranked out an artwork a week. Like, I've never in my life have done anything of that nature. It always takes me a while.
Right, like I have a lot of like unfinished pieces that I can't finish.
Yeah.
And I tried and like a little bit and then a little bit.
It's an unfinished show. Maybe that's.
Maybe it has to be unfinished. I don't know. I usually don't have problems finishing stuff, but sometimes, especially with paintings, I feel like I have them in my studio for like a couple of months. And then I decide to either like cut into them or cut them up.
Your pieces a lot.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I do a lot of destructive things.
You're very cannibalistic.
Yeah, I have like this destructive force in me, and it takes a couple of months. Because if you do a painting, you're like, oh my God, this is so precious, Or also the photographs. Like I worked for months in the darkroom, and then I just stapled them all over, But I always need a break, and then I need this second round, because otherwise I don't feel like it's my work. Like if I don't destroy it in some way, it's not really my work.
Okay, timeline. Well, so I'm going to stick one more in there. Timeline-wise, how long does it more or less take you to complete a piece? Because as you're saying, it takes you forever. I would say for me, maybe 3 months per piece or 2 months per piece. Like it takes me a while. How long do you more or less, life-wise, take to make a single?
Like, I don't know. Like that painting that I'm working now, like the RCS painting, it was just like on a week, like 3 days. And that painting hanging with the men and the dance, that took me forever. And I didn't think that was ready when like they came to my studio and like, okay, we're gonna hang this painting. I was like, it's not ready. And they're like, yeah, it is. I'm like, okay, then I guess it is. But I've been working on it forever. And they're like, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, I don't know. I think I'm gonna fix the feet of it. And they're like, what are you gonna fix? And I'm like, yeah, I guess there's nothing to fix. It's just okay.
Sometimes you just need people to tell you it's done.
Yeah, I think that's what I need. I need people to like come and it's like, no, don't fix anything. I think it's done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you get obsessed with like your own work or like the idea that you had of it. Yeah.
Last question, Maria.
Very last question. Okay, so you were sitting in a magical rocking chair all this time.
Yes.
And it has magical powers. And it grants you 3 wishes at the end of this session.
Oh shit.
You can wish for anything in the whole wide world. But you have to tell us your wishes, otherwise they won't come true.
Okay.
Blank, blank. So what would your 3 wishes be?
God, I wish I wish Maduro would died. I wish no, I don't care if he I wish that, yes, number 1. Number 2, I wish they will all leave the country and my country would go back to
Justice.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have a 3rd wish.
I have a 3rd wish. Okay. I don't know. I'm gonna win the lottery, I guess.
That would be nice.
Good wish. Okay.
They're just like the most blank wishes. Like that's just what I want.
That would be like, I mean, as an artist,
I would have to buy a ticket though.
To have the money to just create and have the freedom to just, have a big space and not worry about paying it and not worry about artwork shipping cost and material. Yeah, I feel
that 80 million thing that was going on. But I never buy the lottery ticket, so I don't think.
You don't buy it. Maybe that would be the first step.
Yeah, I guess buying it.
Oh, wonderful. Well, you better buy a ticket because now you were on a magical chair,
It might just happen.
Might just happen.
I'm going to have to split it with you girls.
10%. We'll each get 5.
No, gallery, 50-50.
I would have for 10. She just like went right. Should have gone 30-30-30.
I'm fine with 10.
Oh my God.
It's 380 right now. I'm fine with 10% for 380.
You want to buy a house, girl?
I do want to buy a house.
Take the 30%.
Talking about percentages, our interview is over, but I love it like you're still here and we're hanging out. Before saying goodbye, are you able, with the artwork that you make, to be a full-time artist, or do you also have a side hustle? Do you also work for a living?
No, I work for a living.
Okay.
And then I use that money to pay for my art.
I do that too. What is it that you do for a living?
I'm an architect.
Nice. So you have your background in architect and then you do your fine arts. I love that. Cool. Okay, Maria, no more.
Alrighty, guys. No, we're at the end of this interview. All right, Bernadette, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for
coming
me.
And joining us. This was our volume
17.
17.
And the time goes so fast. It
happens really fast. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in again. And we're going to be back next week with the next session.
Yeah, shout out to Augusto.
Shout out to Augusto.
He's always listening to
He's always listening. Shout out to Augusto. And yeah, it's going to be a surprise guest.
Yes.
Preview is going to be up on Thursday.
Soon, but stay tuned for Bernadette's show in Caracas, and she will keep us posted on her information for Aqua during Art Basel, and her website will be on our website if you want more information to check her out. Okay?
Alrighty. Bye, guys.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.